Good to have you with us today. Leaders have slammed EU policy as Germany's Angela Merkel met heads of Central European states who are demanding that Brussels reform to save the Union. And not for the first time, the assessment by the Prime Minister of Hungary was among the harshest.
The European Union lost its adaptability in almost every dimension. We could not draw the right conclusions from the effects of the economic crisis. We do not have the proper policy on migration, terrorism, and within the European Union regarding foreign affairs.
The leaders were meeting to decide the future of the European project in the wake of Britain's vote to quit the Union, with Merkel herself saying that Brexit could become a turning point for Brussels. Central European states are also demanding better protection of the bloc's external borders, with some even pushing for the creation of an EU army. Their so-called Visegrad group has grown increasingly critical of Brussels' policies on the backdrop of immigration spiraling out of control. In the meantime, this Saturday marking a grim anniversary for Europe's efforts to tackle the migrant crisis. Exactly 1 year ago, 71 bodies of refugees were found inside a truck in Austria. They had suffocated after being crammed inside the vehicle, smuggling them from Hungary. RT's Murad Gazdiev now looking back at how Europe's changed since that wake-up call.
A freezer truck packed with 71 suffocated refugees was Europe's horrific wake-up call to their plight. Days later, the drowning of 3-year-old Alan Kurdi opened the emotional floodgates. It was the perfect storm. Driven by sorrow, empathy and simple humanity, Europe officially opened its doors.
Tiny symbol of the refugee crisis now gripping Europe. It is an utterly heartbreaking story.
They can't believe that this is happening to them in Europe.
They're trying to get out of Syria, North Africa, places where conflict, terror and poverty.
We know how many people are fleeing due to war and necessity. And we in Germany say yes, we want to accept our fair share, so these people can live in safety again.
We have to build legal ways to Europe, because with legal ways we can protect the refugees.
This was a year ago. No one could have predicted the next 12 months, starting with September. The flow of new arrivals explodes. October. European leaders hold an emergency summit and barbed wire border fences start going up. November, the deadliest attack France has seen in 70 years. 130 people killed. The perpetrators, known jihadists, had used the migrant crisis to mask their return from Syria. January, migrant crime skyrockets. The mood changes. Almost 100,000 demonstrators join anti-immigration rallies organized by the German Pegida movement. February, police begin to crack down in earnest. The Calais jungle in France goes up in flames as the makeshift camp city turns into a battleground. March, 33 people are killed in a series of bombings in Brussels. Again, a number of the perpetrators are believed to have returned from Syria under the guise of migrants. April, riot police fire water cannon, tear gas as migrants storm a closed border crossing. July, a series of gruesome attacks in France and Germany.
We're finding, I think, that most people in Western European societies are becoming very much less favourable to lots of people coming here for whatever reason they're coming. They just feel that it's impossible for our societies to manage to cope with so many people coming.
It has been 1 year since a truck packed with suffocated migrants opened Europe's doors. But 12 months of terror, crime, fear and cultural confusion have left it a very different continent. Murad Gazdiev, RT.
Relations between U.S. presidential candidate Hillary Clinton and the media have become even more strained as the elections draw near. The Associated Press news agency reveals that more than half of all Clinton's meetings when she was Secretary of State were with donors to her private foundation. Commentators warn it could, quote, indicate her possible ethics challenges if elected president. RT's Caleb Mopan has more.
Hillary Clinton has a peculiar relationship with the U.S. media. While news media outlets like CNN and MSNBC claim to be unbiased, you can't help but notice that when people start criticizing the Democratic nominee for president, they get a little bit touchy.
You can't just invent
I'm not
things.
inventing
You just
anything.
invented an entire thing.
They are letting police through, and the police, if you look over this way...
All right, Miguel, thank you so much. We're going to cut you off. We're going to cut you off right now. We're going to cut you off right now. We're going to cover right now Boys to Men.
It transpired that one of the writers from Politico was actually sending stories not first to his editor, but to the Democratic National Committee, apparently for approval. AP finally got its hands on records of who Clinton met with as Secretary of State after being stalled for years and ultimately taking the State Department to court. It turns out that more than half of the people who got FaceTime with Hillary Clinton were donors to her personal foundation. And when the likes of the Associated Press print stories that aren't favorable, the Clintonites are known to get fired up.
What is at issue here is an attack, a reprehensible attack on a charity, the Clinton Foundation, that just shows the double standard that Hillary Clinton is being subjected to here.
There seems to be, to the untrained eye, perhaps, or maybe the trained eye, that the Western, or I should say the American mainstream media, have been acting almost as agents, apparatchiks, campaign contributors, associates of the Clinton campaign.
When the media won't play ball, Clinton takes it personally. In a recent speech, she went on a tirade against a website called Breitbart.
Here are a few headlines they've published, and I'm not. Would you rather your child had feminism or cancer? Gabby Giffords, the gun control movement's human shield.
Now, here are a few Breitbart headlines that Clinton forgot to mention in her speech.
List grows of those calling for special investigation into Clinton Foundation pay-to-play corruption.
FBI finds 15,000 Hillary Clinton documents that she didn't turn over.
Two Benghazi parents sue Hillary Clinton for wrongful death, defamation. NBC News.
Caleb Mopan, RT, Washington, D.C.